morning, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion today on lithium-ion battery and electric vehicle safety. I'll start my presentation, our panel discussion with a short presentation on the topic, just to give you an introduction about the subject. We'll talk about the lithium-ion battery construction and chemistry and technology. A few data and about the incidents and the program we have, our campaigns we introduce on public educational and as well resources that can be used in public. So lithium-ion battery constructions in general, as you can see, it comes with different construction, starting with the famous one, the cylindrical type. But we have also other types, which is the prismatic and pouch. It includes 4 major components: cathode, anode, electrolytes, and the separator. It comes also with safety features such as vents, switches, and fuses. It's important to note that most of these major components are combustible. So we have the cathode, the separator, the electrolyte, and sometimes the case itself of the battery is also combustible. So lithium-ion battery, the major event which happens when fire started or an increase of temperature, it's called as a thermal runaway. It's basically when an electrochemical cell increases its temperature through self-heating, and that becomes an uncontrollable fashion. Also, it's the cell is called as a generation of heat. The rate of generation of heat is higher even than the heat that it dissipated through the battery. The main cause or different causes of thermal runaway to happen is basically when the separator between the cathode and the anode fails. And this happened due to different reasons. Could be an environmental impact, such as hot temperature or cold temperatures. It could be mechanical reason, such as crash, when we have like electric vehicle crash. Also, it could be due to aging and degradation of the battery itself. It could be for electrical reason, where we have electrical short circuits or overcharging. Also, there are reasons or causes due to the manufacturing defects during manufacturing of these batteries. Okay, so it's important for us to record and report all the incidents, and basically is to understand the challenge with the batteries and how it started and what are the risks or hazards associated with the batteries. So as you can see, the number of incidents related to lithium-ion batteries are increases in a big way, and it includes different type of materials or consumers, starting with laptops, iPads, mobile phones, as well as the electric vehicles and micro-mobility devices. This is data on micro-mobility devices and consumer products. You can see the number of fires due to the use of the battery in these devices, and it's increasing in every year. We have reports from different countries. So these are the countries who have provided reports on lithium-ion battery incidents globally. And most of these reports, we got it from news or from fire departments and government entities. Also note that some countries, they just announce or publish number of incidents as a package or as a number of incidents end of the year. So the numbers could change during the year. This is a website we created to public, so they can report any incident related to lithium-ion batteries. And we have all the reports and the records from 1995 until today. We have launched also a campaign, a safety campaign called Take Charge. And basically, it's all about battery safety. We recorded different videos, and we have announced the campaign last year, which typically the word charge explain itself. So C, to choose certified products. H, for handle with care. A, always stay alert for warning signs. R, recycle devices and battery properly. And also G, to get out when there is a fire. I want to share this video with you. This is part of the campaign. It's a short video in YouTube. If you just search on Take Charge video. But there is a full video that's available also for public that can be used in different conferences or different events.
Oh my God. This is not a game. Like, that happened so quick.
I don't know if you'd even be able to get out.
I'm going to share some things that you can do to take charge of battery safety. C, choose certified products. Look at product packaging to ensure that they carry the mark of a nationally recognized testing laboratory who has done a safety evaluation of that product. H, handle with care. Make sure you're using the charger supplied to you by the manufacturer. A, always stay alert for warning signs. Look for physical damage like punctures or dents. R, recycle the devices responsibly. Don't throw them in your waste stream. G, get out immediately if there's a fire. E, educate others. Using what you've learned here, make sure you share with your friends and family how to take charge of battery safety.
And if you want to scan this barcode, it has all the resources we have, from training material and press release of any previous incident reports that is available as well online. These are trainings available also online, kind of webinars, can be used by anyone to educate your team and any company. Especially the one related to the fire service consideration with lithium-ion battery energy storage systems. This is basically for the incident happened in 2019 in Arizona in the US, where 4 firefighters had serious injury due to the explosion in the energy storage system. Well, thank you very much for the presentation, and then now let's move to the panel discussion with our group of esteemed panelists here. Let me start introducing my panelists. I'll start with Dr. Humaid from the General Civil Defense of UAE, Chris from WSP, Ahmed Abdo from ABB, Ihab from LOAMS, Damac Properties, and Eman from VdS. So to start the discussion today, Dr. Humaid, let me start with you first. So to address the impact of lithium-ion battery incidents and also the growth of micromobility, electric vehicles, fires, how have these factors impacted the tactical decision-making for first responders in the UAE or in the region?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good morning, everyone. It's such an honor to be here, and thank you for inviting me. So first of all, we need to understand what's the risk, what we are facing as we are fire departments or firefighters. According to your presentation, there were many figures showing us how much risk we might face it. And one story I want to start my speak is there was one incident in Sacramento, US in 2022 while in junkyard. So they received a Tesla Model S and it's been there 4 days without any driven, and suddenly it's been ignited by fire. So the firefighter response to that incident was dozens of fire. So they reached the incident, they opened their nozzle, so they start fighting, and the impact was nothing. So after, let's say, 1 hour or 2 hours, they said, we need to take the car one side, and we will target the battery directly, and again, no any benefit. So they decide they need to dig a hole in the land, and they fill it with the water, then they push the car to it. It took them 4 hours and more than 4,500 gallons to respond to that incident. So for our fire department, it's much resource. We can respond to one building structure or one residential for that. So what we do here in UAE, we always see what the inputs internationally, and we see our systems like the SOPs, the training, the academy. So we updated all of these stuff. Plus, we have some coordination with the EV, like a Tesla or another vehicles. But it's not the full story here. I think we need more collaboration with the people who actually manufacture those type of things. Because I don't think someone will expect that one firefighter will understand all the theory part, which you explained in the 2 slides about the lithium and what's inside it. So as we are in UAE, and you will see, like for Dubai Civil Defense, they have the labs, they have their ecosystem implement there, and also Abu Dhabi Civil Defense, they start the ecosystems, because there are some responsibilities belong to us as a fire department, and some belong to the government itself. And this is, let's say, we establish an ecosystem and we monitor it. But at the end, I think we need to do more in the tactical and the ground. Also, we need to monitor what's happened around us. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Humaid. Yes, I'm sure that the technology is still emerging, and people are learning from each other by sharing experience and sharing their expertise in the field. And this conference is one of the spaces or platforms to discuss and share experience and insights. Ihab, let me ask you about residential buildings and communities. As you represent building management and community management in this field, from your perspective, what are the emerging risks associated with lithium-ion batteries in residential buildings and communities?
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Ghaith, for the nice presentation, and you highlight very important topic. Today, I'll be not go deeply on specific and how the book's talking about the battery and e-charge, where I'll be share some experience from the end user who's using those batteries. Unfortunately, this technology, it's helped us to develop our lifestyle, and today the batteries start being part of our home. It's inside our homes, it's used by our kids, used by our families, and I feel the main risk today, we have it as a profession, we know the risk of the battery and how to deal with it, but the end user, which they are using the scooters, bike, the robotic vacuums and the electrical cars, they don't know what the kind of risk is associated with those batteries and those equipments. So I feel the main risk today, we have to increase the awareness, we have to develop how we should be teach the end user in the way they can understand how to deal with the battery, how to charge this equipment in a safe way, and how to dispose and restore this equipment in a right way. As you mentioned in your presentation, one of the main risks we have with the batteries is the thermal runaway, which is very important here in UAE due to the weather. Most of the equipment sometimes is charged exposed to the direct sun, where we have many incidents on the last year. Many scooters, they got charged in the balcony and it's caused a serious fire. Thanks God we are in Dubai, where the civil defense, they fully trained and aware about how to deal with these incidents, but we need to prevent it. We need to find a way where we should be educate our end user in order to prevent, we can save a life and losses on those properties. Also, I think there is a risk associated where our insurance part need to develop their risk assessment, and they need to evaluate those risks, and they need to agree their reality today. We have the battery in all our residential homes, communities, villas, and that also should be covered as a part of the insurance policy. And the third part, which is related to the facility management, where our technician and our maintenance team, they need to develop their competency and knowledge about how to deal with those equipment, how to charge it safely, and how to ensure those equipments and batteries are maintained in a proper way to avoid all the risk which we know about it, and you are highlighted in your presentation. I think this is the main three elements which I feel we can highlight and focus on it in order to avoid any risk from the battery and e-charge which we have it today.
Thank you, Ihab. I totally agree. And you mentioned about the risk assessment. So I remember like one of the points that we have to, when we do a risk assessment or fire risk assessment in buildings, we first identify the ignition resources. And the unique challenge with batteries or lithium-ion batteries, I called it as a portable ignition source. It's not something that's fixed like kitchens or oven, or if you have any ignition inside our homes. This is something portable, like can be moved from space to another space. Chris, another challenge we have now with car parking. So we have electric vehicles in car parkings. What do you think? What are the challenges with having charging stations in car parking, especially to first responders, to the civil defense, and maybe also to public?
Thank you, Ghaith, and good morning, everybody. Yes, I think it's as Dr. Ali was saying. The first thing we need to do is we need to look at the revised hazard that now poses for us in existing buildings. Car parks are very functional spaces, and they've been designed to day-to-day for internal combustion engines, deal with carbon monoxide levels, and that smoke control systems then used to clear smoke after the event of a fire. And equally, the suppression systems are much more about containing the fire to a single location and not getting fire spread from car to car. With charging points and electric vehicles, that hazard profile changes. So we now have much quicker growth rates when you look at the design fire. Typically, the peak heat release rate is much the same. But having a quicker growth rate means that people have less time to evacuate and the civil defence have less time to respond to that fire before it reaches that peak. Equally, where sprinklers are very good at containing a fire, internal combustion engine fire to a single car, with the jet flare from a thermal runaway, you have now got much higher received radiation on adjoining cars, which means the occurrence of fire spread car to car is much greater. So there are strategies you can put in place to address those, but the real challenge is the limits of existing car parks. Those car parks are functional spaces, often used as service routes for the rest of the building, very, very shallow mechanical zones. So introducing new systems in those spaces are a real challenge. Sure. We're doing some work at the minute adapting existing spaces, and the primary things that we're looking at are, can we increase the amount of water we can put onto the fire? Can we contain that fire to a single location? And is it possible to locate the vehicle at a point where civil defence can get to it easily and potentially remove it from that space as well? But, as I say, the biggest challenge really is adapting an existing space for a very unique hazard profile that's changed.
Thanks, Chris. Ahmed, we have another challenge now with electric vehicle stations or charging stations in gas stations or in petrol stations. So from your perspective, what are the challenges related to installing charging stations in petrol stations?
Yes, thank you for bringing this topic because it's lost in between a lot of entities, and we are really facing this challenge everywhere. So now let's say that gas station or petrol stations became the most convenient location to install chargers. It is well placed on the roads, it has space, it has services, it is safe, so you can take coffee, something while charging your car. So it became a preferred destination. At the same moment, we are looking at a very hazardous device like the charger, which deliver a huge amount of power and current to another device which is having, as you show us, a very critical batteries, which is a source of ignition, as you said, beside a huge storage of flammable material, and you can see vapor, gas, and so on. This orchestra of, or combination of components is really making a mix of problems. In the middle, there is untrained user, which could be my sister, my mother, someone who doesn't evaluate or understanding how critical is these devices, where a lot of times he's insisting to get his car charged regardless what the error he see or what problems he have with his car, maybe using a connector or something in the middle between the charger and the car. So all this together is making a big load on and risks on these locations. In the meanwhile, we cannot see a single standard that can address such situation. We have, let's say, fragmented standards. Some are talking about chargers alone, some are talking about fuel station alone, others are talking about the product safety and quality, vehicle quality and safety, and everyone's relying that every device is taking care, but there is no one unified or one common clear mandate to make sure that this combo of devices or this orchestra is working in the right and safe way. Beside the risk of fire, so we are quite sure that there is no single location have adequate, let's say, training or equipment to do the first response on site. So as you said, maybe it need 50 to 90 1,000 liters of water just to control one EV. So just imagine this EV is on fire inside a gas station. So it will be a catastrophe. So we see in many countries that there is no enough safety equipment to handle such situation until you receive the right support.
Thanks, Ahmed. Eman, I've also spoke about thermal runaway process in my presentation, but can you please further explain the thermal runaway process, how it happens, and is there a way to avoid it from the beginning, or maybe at least try to control that process from happening?
Good morning, everyone. Assalamu alaikum. The thermal runaway, as its name suggests, is really the acceleration in temperature. So in lithium-ion batteries, when it becomes unstable due to external factors or internal factors, which you've pointed out earlier on, you get what is called an exothermic reaction, which means it gives out energy in the form of heat, which keeps increasing as the reaction continues. And that really results in a very destructive results, as you've seen, in the form of toxic gases, fumes, flammable gases, fire, and of course there's a potential of explosion, as you've actually demonstrated in this video, and if you actually go on YouTube, you see many more examples of these things. Well, what can we be done about it? I'm going to talk more generically rather than specifically. In our discipline, dealing with standards and testing and certification and inspection, I look at it as a kind of what can we done in a preventative action, you know. And in the preventative action, you actually mentioned about handling the lithium-ion batteries, the goods that contains these things. And it's always a good idea to actually listen to the manufacturers. And we've seen people go on the cheap, get this, cheap chargers to charge it. These are dangerous when it comes to lithium-ion batteries. So to be educated on the handling is really important. That's the preventative action. But there is a two-stage process in terms of what we call a proactive action and also the reactive action. So what do I mean by proactive reaction? It means really understanding the unique influential risk, fire, and actually knowing the size of the risk that can be exhibited in a situation. And then you have to think about segregation, from people and combustible material. And finally, one of the proactive is think about how you can actually contain it in the potential cause, when there is an explosion, that you can, and there are materials like cabinets and things like that, you can contain it so that the fire does not spread out. When it comes to reactive action, well, the best thing to do, as I say, is education and training. Right? You need to be trained to know how to handle a specific fire. Right? There's no point, doing anything. You really need to be an expert to know when to do something and when not to do something. The other ones we know, we've heard about suppression systems. Again, there are guidelines about suppression, automatic suppression that can be used, and that's quite challenging but then you need to know about the risk that is involved and how much water or whatever agent that you need to expose. And there have been studies about these things, and there are standards that are available with that respect. And also we talked about there are lots of products on manual handling suppression. Again, I always say to people, do it with caution, because you see people trying to put fire out and not knowing the danger of it. You've got to be careful about that. Don't handle an extinguisher if you don't know how to use it and know the danger that could be involved. And lastly, sometimes you really can't stop it. So when we talk about cars, for example, sometimes there's nothing you could do. You can put lots of water on the car and it's not going to extinguish it because it's going to go on the bonnet. It's not going to go directly to the lithium batteries. So you need to actually know how to do it. There are materials, lots of materials for whether it's proactive action or the reactive. There are lots of materials, methods that you can actually adopt. There are blankets, there are containers. I've seen I think there are guidelines to a lot of fire brigade people when you have like fire in traffic, because a lot of times separate everybody. You can put lots of engines, the amount of water that you need to put that out is not going to happen sometimes. You just need to know. There are blankets, you can cover it, or just segregate the whole everybody and make sure it's safe. So really the message that I'd like to bring to this audience, to people, is to be actually really educated, have the knowledge, have the experience, because this is really important. If you have that, you can put measures in place in order to prevent it in the first place. And then if it does occur, you know the actions that you need to do to deal with this situation.
Thank you, Eman. And I think one of the critical challenges with the battery is that it could reignite. So even though you put a lot amount of water and then you leave, it could reignite again.
Okay.
So, Dr. Humaid, considering these challenges that posed by lithium-ion battery fires, what do you think? How should building design and fire strategies evolve in order to safe and safely support maybe first responders when they are dealing with such incidents, especially with maybe energy storage systems, locations, and electric vehicles infrastructure?
I think, first of all, you need to establish your own model to respond to that type of risk. For example, you might have like a triangle model, starting from the manufacturer, then fire safety, then fire response, and do the loop. Also, you need to understand what you have inside your community. So if I ask you how many EV vehicles you have, how many e-bikes you have, where's the battery storage, how much they are, if you have those type of data, I think you can respond, because unless you know the enemy inside your community, you cannot handle it with it. So for example, in US, it's been, let's say, between 2021 and 2023, 660 fires, which led to 12 deaths and 260 injuries. And also there is one KPI or one figures, you will be surprised, that's the possibility of, let's say, one EV fire versus 100,000 EV vehicles. So that's mean we have all around the world now 40 million, I think, EV vehicles. If you own one, you might have, your car might be fired. I hope you are not the one, but this is only the figure, might be correct or not. So again, I will repeat, to the model, you need to establish it and the data you have it, and also you implement the technology and AI. I mean, inside your departments, you have many systems and many, let's say, stakeholders, and you can engage it. So one of the stakeholders actually the people who actually bring those type of EV or e-bikes to the building itself. So you need to understand when you say the risk assessment for the buildings, maybe when you do a risk assessment, there is no any risk of the storage system. Maybe the owner or those people, they will update it or they will bring it from outside, because most of the videos you show to us, it was not actually exist when you approve the buildings.
Yep.
Someone brought it to their apartments. So this is, let's say, complicated situation. You need to understand the whole scenario. Unless you're doing that, you cannot handle. And also, as Eman said, we need to educate, we need to rise our level. And here in UAE, we always dealing with the incident before it's happening. So we do a predictive way. Unless you have the data, you cannot reach that. Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Ahmed. Ihab, talking about older buildings or existing buildings, do we have any steps? Do you have any plans, or have you taken any steps to retrofit the existing buildings or older buildings to accommodate electric vehicle infrastructure?
Yes, definitely. We need to understand the customer needs, and according to the customer need, we need to provide the facility in the safe way in order to ensure they'll be not misuse it, and they'll be do it by their own way, which can lead for different incident and different kind of risk. So today we are working in all our existing building in cooperation with the DIWA and with the Ittisalat in order to ensure there is availability of enough number for the EV charger, which can be used for the electrical vehicles. Also for our existing community where we have independent villas and townhouse, also we are working with our contractors and the technical team in order to provide the provision and to connect the EV charger. We also working with our team, maintenance team and community management team, as Dr. Humaid mentioned, to educate our management team to start to quantify the numbers of batteries and the risk we have within our community that can help us in order to provide those data to the civil defense on to our operations team to understand the risk mitigated within the building. Similar when you have a diesel tank inside the building or other kind of flammable item inside the building, you need to gather this information. I just need to highlight, I know you are running out of time, but I just need to highlight an important point which we all need to work on it, that to control the manufacturer, where we need to have some kind of control on the product we have today. Unfortunately, this kind of materials and component, it's running with a trend. Okay, so there is many manufacturers, and those manufacturers, some of them, the quality and the connection is not controlled. As Ahmed mentioned today, I need to charge my car, otherwise I'll be not run without a car on this summer. So I'll be not look for the connection if it's safe or not safe, if it's maintained properly or not maintained properly. I'll be plug it with my car and let us run. So it's very important to ensure there is a kind of control in the product which we are supplying for our family, for our house, to ensure those risks has mitigated and controlled properly. Otherwise, we will be continue running with this risk. Thank you.
I totally agree, Ihab. Thank you. And Ahmed, we speaking about the product itself, and I've mentioned in the campaign we have the Take Charge, where you have to use certified products or certified chargers. So do you think safety certification or third-party certification shall be mandated for all electric vehicle supply equipment installations?
Yes, for sure. As I said before, we need to look at the full picture. So we need to have a kind of certification or a clear standards covering the whole scope, not only the charger alone or the vehicle alone, because we have always a weak point in the operator. He's always coming with a misuse, which we see it in many cases. So the dangers here is with this kind of ambiguity or gaps between standards, it keeps a very big space for speculating and everyone understanding what should I do. What we are doing now is we are taking the best practice. We try to keep, for example, a charger very far away as much as we can, because here luckily we have big gas stations and so on. In some other countries, they don't have this. So They just rely on experience. There is nothing to say this is a certain zoning or separation. Also on the, let's say, short circuits or earth leakage isolation between this storage and so on, it's not clearly mandated. There is nothing to measure and say this is the minimum safe area to do this and this. On the other hand, the impact is for sure a big loss on personal life. This is it will be a disaster, and also a commercial impact. If there is no clear quality standard on the charger, every time this charger is stopped, it could stop the whole station because of earth issues or connection issues or safety or cyber security issues. It will impact the whole zone. There is also a liability on the owner himself if there is an issue on the site. Sometimes, as you said, insurance is not covering such mistakes. They don't have a clear understanding on what should be measured under the insurance because there is no clear standards here. So many issues is related to this kind of ambiguity and unclarity on this space.
Thanks, Ahmed. And Chris, let's go back to the car parking challenge. So we have now electric vehicles, as mentioned, in car parks. What fire strategies can be adopted in order to reduce the risk of having fires in car parking?
Well, I'll answer your question about car parking in a second, but I wanted to bring in the idea about the mobility devices as well. And when I was a firefighter, one of the first things you're taught is your job, 90% of your job is prevention.
Yep.
And I think education on the risk that's posed by mobility scooters is integral. I'm encouraged to see what you guys are doing at UAL, about publicising this. Because, again, relating it back to car parks are, although they're used by the public, are relatively controlled space. They have a defined function. You have allocated areas where you park your car, allocated routes to get in and out of space. Whereas in a residential building, if people are charging their mobility scooter in the entrance hall or on their balcony or in their bedrooms, it's very hard to control that unless there's an education piece. So I think that's an integral part to it. And in doing so, reduces the occurrence of those fires and therefore the effect for civil defence and attending fire crews. But relating it back to what research we do know on car park fires, again, this idea about hazard profile changing, the off-gassing for thermal runaway can be detected early. And again, we're talking about that a quicker heat release rate, a quicker growth rate in a fire, giving people more time to escape and giving the civil defence more time to tackle that fire is integral to it. So again, addressing those specific hazards, introducing the right detection measures in those spaces, and ultimately, if possible, isolating these charging points somewhere else away from the other hazard in that space, which is internal combustion engines. Because as I say, the hazard profile for internal combustion engines and electric vehicles is quite different. So catering to those hazards would help a lot with reducing occurrence of fires in buildings.
Cool. Thanks, Chris. For the sake of time, also Eman, I know you're sitting in standard committees in UK and Europe. So can you share with us your experience and background on if there is a regulatory framework or harmonized standards across Europe that address the hazard of lithium-ion batteries?
Well, actually, there are regulation and directive relating to batteries and lithium-ion batteries, and they deal with things like safety, the substances, the documentation, labeling, and of course the test. The one that I'd like to bring to attention of the people is the United Nations manual, which deals with, I would say, dangerous goods. So in addition to the battery regulation, there are additional ones as well. The United Nations manual, which I believe the latest edition is 2023, that deals with dangerous substance, and they include tests that are required because they're related to the transport. So this is, I think, if you actually Google these things, you can go under section 38.3 that deals with the tests that is required for the different type of lithium batteries and sodium batteries, where you apply various tests and it's required. So you have to produce a report when you do the shipment of these goods. And the test that deals with the transport, as you've highlighted, because of the danger of these things, like the influence of the, they do simulation of altitude, so low pressure, You have simulation of the temperature, the rapid change in temperature, or the increase, the extreme temperatures. They also have vibration. You can, from the test, the transport. Also shock. Trying to think of other ones. The short circuit ones. So all these tests, I think there are in total there are about 8 tests that you're required to do, and you can actually do these tests by the manufacturers themselves. They have to do it, or you can actually go to an independent test house that can do that. That's one of the type of tests that you require, and it's required. And you hear about all that when you make shipment, or even when you travel yourself. You notice that when you're on the plane, they tell you all about all the requirements of where you have to put the batteries. But there are also other standards that are out there. It's a kind of a little bit of a maze, really, trick. Which one do you really need to apply? But it would be, my wish is to actually get everybody globally to unite and actually think of proper standards for the right application. Because we see lots of research, lots of things done. There are standards developed as a result of these fires, like the suppression. I mean, we have our own standards and so on. There are lots of these things about, but it would be nice to get everybody together to produce something that is meaningful and for the right purpose and the application that you require. That would really be my wish.
Thank you, Eman. All right. Thank you, everyone. Thanks to our panelists for sharing their insights and expertise. Thanks for the audience. And sorry, we don't have time for the questions, but please feel free to reach out to our panelists during our breaks. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.